back to BLOCKTV and you're watching Chain Breakers. Saga, the brainchild of a group of economists and finance experts, made a major announcement this week declaring that on December 10th, it will be launching its SGA token. We're delighted to have with us today Ido Sadeh Man, founder and chairman of the board at Saga, to help us break down the significance of this news and to tell us if SGA can actually be a viable alternative to Libra. Now, full disclosure, BLOCKTV and Saga do share some investors. Ido, how are you? Thank you for being here.
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So now before we kind of get into this a little bit, there is a little explainer video on the SGA token, and I think we should take a look.
Money should be simple. One transaction, one currency. Local currency copes effectively within national boundaries, but global commerce creates complex layers of multi-currency conversions and backstage financial operations that mean we all pay more when we sell or buy goods abroad. Money needs to evolve. Saga is a global currency that works in tandem with today's global economic reality and replicates the simplicity of national money. It's true that advances in technology have produced cryptocurrency, but volatility and instability, crude mechanisms of governance, and lack of regulation have rightfully led to poor public acceptance and low adoption rates. The real challenge lies in designing a solution on a global scale that replicates the trust and liquidity that national currencies enjoy. Saga has designed worldwide money to do just that. Embracing modern technology while harnessing the knowledge and achievements of the past. Restraining price volatility using central bank-like instruments. Allowing 24/7 redeemability and liquidity from the very start. Enabling SGA holders to govern the currency through representational institutions, supported by multidisciplinary sector experts and built on a reputable regulatory framework. SGA, worldwide money that brings proven advantages of existing currencies to a global scope.
So all very informative. We're obviously straight off of this announcement, planning to launch the SGA December 10th, of course. But I would like to start a little bit with the history of Saga. What led you to this stage, this decision to launch a token?
So we're very excited. It's the fruit of 2 years of work. I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years and it never took me 2 years to launch a product. But launching a currency is an altogether different story. I think that what led the development of Saga is the realization that the global economy needs a global currency to serve it. And back 2 years ago, it was quite a revolutionary statement. Today, it's quite widely acceptable, definitely after Libra, but also after Mark Carney, the governor of the Central Bank of England, declared that a synthetic currency based on a basket of currencies need to replace the dollar as a sole currency or as the main reserve currency of the world. So I think it is becoming increasingly evident that we have a global economy and one that is not run by any particular nation state. And it's quite consistent through 2,000 years of documented history, at least, that when a new scope of an economy is generated, then it needs to be served by a store of value, a medium of exchange, and a unit of account, which basically means a currency. And so this is what we aim to do in Saga. We're not aiming to replace any fiat currency. We're not claiming any fiat currency is doing anything wrong. We're simply stating that fiat currencies, national currencies, are, to begin with, designed to meet the national economy and a national reality. And we have a new scope that cannot be met by national measures. And it's the fruit of 2 years of work and quite a lot of dialogues with regulators and financial institutions in the world, an establishment of quite a robust and elaborate monetary model to tame volatility while implementing the currency with as a fully AML and KYC compliant, so that it can really serve a bridge to the traditional financial industry.
So that's the ultimate goal, is to be that bridge to the traditional financial industry?
The ultimate goal is that a citizen of Britain who holds pounds to shop for groceries, but also shops on Amazon or on Alibaba and goes on vacation, doesn't have to worry that if Brexit takes place and the pound loses several percents of its value, then they are exposed in the realms of such a global economy. So it's really designed eventually, or it will definitely start as a store of value, but eventually it is designed to be a complementary currency, one that is used for global exposures.
Okay, and so you say that, and this is quoting you guys here, the SGA is designed to serve as a frictionless global currency. I don't mean to play the devil's advocate here, but I will anyway. Can't Bitcoin do the same thing? Or, you know, Libra is planning to do the same thing. How are you planning to compete with, I mean, we'll talk about them separately, but then Bitcoin, what is your argument for that? Why is it that Bitcoin can't do what you are claiming to do?
So first of all, I think that we need to all acknowledge a very simple truth and a very evident truth with all the love and appreciation one might have for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not money. It is not used as money, it is not used to transact, nor it is used to store value, discarding speculative attempts to store value. And I think that there are several root causes for Bitcoin not becoming money. One is time, definitely. I mean, the advocates of Bitcoin as money would claim that with time, with volume, it will become money. But I think that what we witness today is very high levels of volatility. And money cannot be as volatile. Volatility is great. It's great if you're a VC, a venture capital, right? You invest in a very risky startup to begin with, hoping it will, knowing that most of them will shut down, hoping that some of them would make 10x. But when you sell tomatoes, you want to know that tomorrow you can pay your employees and your rent. And for that to be the case, you want to accept a currency that cannot lose or gain 20% of its value in a single day. And I think that in this test, Bitcoin does not stand for now. Moreover, I think that the AML concerns by many regulators and as a consequence by traditional financial infrastructure is making most of this traditional industry or financial industry reject Bitcoin as a medium of payment. And these are exactly, so Bitcoin is definitely where we departed from. I think it has a great merit of being the first non-governmental attempt to create money.
Wait, but does that mean, I'm sorry to cut you off here, but does that mean that you think that Bitcoin won't survive this? Like, with all the start and evolution of cryptocurrencies, do you not see Bitcoin winning out at the end?
Not as money, not as a currency. Would it be a store of value? Possibly. Would it be the main store of value of the world? Possibly. Could it be defendable and as a better alternative to gold? Probably. But it will not. We don't believe it will become the next unit of account, medium of exchange, and store of value of the world.
And so then, but then on the point of Libra, so you know, a lot of your claims are pretty similar to what we've heard. You know, that right. Libra plans on doing. So what's the competition game here? What's the end game? So
first of all, we don't see it as a competition, right? I think that it is becoming increasingly clear that the world needs a global currency. What else is becoming clear is that nation states would not be able to be the ones that provide the world with global currency because they're national and not global. So I think it's increasingly clear that nation states are not going to be the ones that are providing national money. And so the quest to provide an alternative is a big quest, and it will take several attempts. And I don't think that we need to speak of competition. We need to speak of solutions to an acknowledged problem. And so we welcome the so-called competition. We welcome many approaches to these solutions. To your question, there are two main differences with Libra. I think, first of all, I think that Facebook is probably the best player to issue out a payment network. The accessibility they have to more than 2 billion wallets or potential wallets is an invaluable asset. But being a payment network, such as PayPal and Venmo on steroids and on the blockchain, is an altogether different thing than being an issuer of a currency. And I think that the issuance of the currency has first to answer the question of legitimacy. And I could not put it in better words than Tim Cook saying corporations cannot be the issuers of currency. And this is because corporations are designed by their declared purpose to carry benefit to their shareholders and not to be accountable to their stakeholders. And this is why we have designed Saga as a democracy. So I'm elected, so we will launch, and a year after the launch, I could be elected or not by the holders of Saga, by all holders of Saga. We have a monetary committee that is nominated by institutions that are elected by the holders of the currency. We've really tried to take the best out of the corporate world, the nation state, and the blockchain world to ensure that we have a predictable economy, a predictable monetary policy, and a representational economy, one that really replicates the fact that we have to be accountable to the holders of the currency and not to any shareholders we don't have.
So you're speaking about this, self-regulation a bit, but I want to ask more directly if you can go a bit more into detail and explain how the Saga contract allows the SGA market to self-regulate the money supply.
Sure. So when we launch on December 10th, there are 0 Sagas in the world. When one buys Saga from the contract creates Saga. When one sells Saga back to the contract, this Saga is being destroyed. And all the proceeds from buying Saga are deposited in reserve, always. And so the quantity of Saga is determined by the market, by buying or selling. And this allows us to consider that the quantity of Saga is a quantifier of trust in our ecosystem. And accordingly, we decide whether to keep a 100% reserve ratio, which is the reserve we have to begin with. We keep it in the SDR, in a basket of currencies determined not by us, but by the IMF, existing since 1969. And we start by fully pegging the SDR. But as the market determines that it has more trust in Saga, we start declining this. And when I say we, it's the smart contract. We don't have to do anything. It is pre-programmed into the smart contract. This is the monetary model of Saga. And so Saga is not a stable coin. It's a stabilized currency in the sense that the reserve helps deal with fluctuations and tame volatility. But it does inspire to have an intrinsic value, but to do it very, very slowly while acquiring trust over time and proving worthy.
Even still, I'm going to ask you, so you said it's not a stable coin, but it's
right.
a stabilized
right.
currency. How does that, in your viewpoint, how are you guys different than other stable coins?
So most stable coins that we know are pegging one-to-one an existing currency. And so if they're pegging the dollar, then they're simply a tokenization of the dollar. The monetary policy is still being run by the Federal Reserve. In the United States, answering a fiscal and monetary agenda of the United States, not a global one. And in this regard, stablecoins are extremely useful. We're using them ourselves in our operation, but they're not really a new currency. They do not hold any intrinsic value of their own. What Saga does is say that we cannot have intrinsic value like Bitcoin from day one because we're not trusted enough. And rightfully, we're not trusted enough. We're new. And so we built a model where we can earn this trust and intrinsic value that comes with it over time, over proof that we are worthy of it. But to begin with, we're fully stabilized by already existing currencies in the form of the SDR. So this is what I said. And it sounds like an original concept in the crypto world, but this is exactly what central banks are doing for more than a century now. A central bank role is to keep the stability of the currency by deploying monetary policy. It doesn't mean that it is stable, it means that it is stabilized. And so in this regards, we think we're doing something that has been done many times before, but not by crypto actors.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you again to just be, with this one a bit more concise and just break it down a bit. So you mentioned the IMF before and how you guys are complying with, regulatory frameworks that are already in place.
Yep.
According to your statement, SGA is designed to comply fully with existing regulatory frameworks globally. How do you intend to do that? So
this refers to AML, which is one of the biggest concerns of regulators all over the world. How do we make sure that cryptocurrencies, non-governmental currencies, are not being used to launder money, to finance terrorism, etc.? There is a global organization called the FATF that issues guidelines that are later translated by different jurisdictions. And for anyone to be able to hold Saga, they need to undergo a KYC process that is programmed into the money, meaning it's an ERC20 wallet. Any Ethereum ERC20 wallet can hold Saga, but it needs to be a part of a whitelist. And to become a part of this whitelist, one has to undergo the KYC process. And this KYC process is fully compliant with FATF standards. And so the entire set of concerns regarding AML and KYC, know your customer guidelines, is not relevant to Saga. We're compliant with them just as any other bank or financial institution would be.
Okay, and you said it took you 2 years to get to this point. I'm wondering, you said this to me off camera, but I'm wondering, where do you see the company in a year from now?
So I think it very much depends on the market. I think that one of the positive things in the market situation we have now is that it's really about building value and not about the dramatic measurements of market caps. Where I expect the company to be in a year is to prove our monetary model, to prove that we are able to tame volatility, but still to demonstrate growth and to demonstrate and earn of trust. I definitely hope that we will be in a position to cater to other audiences, audiences that are shy of the crypto market nowadays, whether it's institutional audiences or more conservative audiences that definitely see the benefits but do not want to be exposed to under-regulation and do not want to be exposed to raging volatility. That's what I have to... And giving it numbers is less interesting. I think that it is about fulfilling the vision of Saga, and this is the vision we have. Okay,
and then assuming that all goes well, 5 years from now, where do you see the company?
So 5 years from now, I definitely see the company transitioning from proving the store of value features into catering to the medium of exchange issues, the payment issues. There are a lot, we are constantly speaking out of a perspective of a completely banked world, but there are areas where the stability of a currency and the ease of payment and storing money not under your mattress is not as evident as it is for us. I definitely see Saga playing a major part in facilitating cross-border payment, in facilitating financial inclusion, in facilitating the ability to store the product of our livelihood in an instrument that is safe and sound and not subject to volatility.
And we wish you luck with that. Thank you very much,
Ido
Sadeh Man of Saga, for joining us. And to all you folks at home watching at blocktv.com, keep on watching for more crypto and blockchain news.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.